This is Chapter 11, Part 5. We have calculated the flow rate for this medication. Now what we want to do is we want to make a titration table. Well, the thing is, this is our flow rate, but every time we increase the dosage, this number is going to change, which is going to change this calculation. We're allowed to go up by 5 micrograms per minute per that. And so while we have this first flow rate, which we just calculated, 3 milliliters per hour, you can either redo this whole calculation again, putting a 15 here, and then putting a 20 here, and then a 25, and then a 30, and you can fill out the rest of this table. Or we have another option. What we can do instead is we can figure out how much the flow rate increases when we bump it up by 5 every time. So what we're going to do is do one general calculation for how much it's going to increase for every 5. So what I'm going to do is basically the same thing. I'm just going to put a 5 right here. 5 micrograms for 1 minute times, of course, 60 minutes for 1 hour times, we've got to convert to milligrams. 1 milligram is 1,000 micrograms. And then we do the 250 over the 50. Separate that a little bit. And minutes cancel, micrograms cancel, milligrams cancel, so everything is good. If you multiply straight across, you get 75,000 milliliters over 50,000 hours. Reduce, and 75 divided by 50 is 1.5. So basically, our flow rate is going to increase by 1.5 every single time we do that step increase that we are allowed to use. So if you go ahead and fill out this entire table, if you decide to bump it up, if you need to bump it up to 15 micrograms per minute, this increases by 1.5. So right here, you would need to increase this to 4.5 milliliters per hour. If you were to bump it up to 20, you would add 1.5 to this as well to get 6 milliliters per hour. And if you were to bump it up to 25, you would need to add 1.5 to this, so it's 7.5 milliliters per hour. And then for the final one, which is your maximum dose, you add 1.5 again and you get 9 milliliters per hour. And so if you have a chart like this for a particular drug, then you can easily fill out this chart and you won't have to think about it every time you go to increase it. All right, so what have we done in this chapter? We have talked about an IV piggyback. We've talked about push medications. We've talked about in a gravity system, the IV bag that is hung highest will infuse first. We've talked about this new kind of unit, which means this. And then we have talked about how to calculate when the size of the patient is required. And we've talked about titrating medications. And then we've talked about making a titration table.